Welcome to today's unboxing with Yoseka stationery video, and I'm actually really excited to announce that today's unboxing video is going to be more ink. Today I'm going to be talking about the new Sailor Yurameku inks. These inks continue to be some of my personal favorite inks. They're constantly in my personal rotation in my fountain pens, and for anyone who doesn't know, these are Yurameku in Japanese actually means flickering, so shifting and changing. So the first edition of Sailor Yurameku inks were actually meant to be shifting colors depending on what paper you used. And I think one of my favorite things that I read when I was like just doing some online reading about Yurameku is Brad Dowdy, pen addict, actually wrote in one of his reviews for the Yurameku inks, he goes, "What color is it?" The answer, I don't know. I think that was like a really funny statement and good overall summary of these Yurameku inks. So with the first edition of Sailor Yurameku, those colors were actually inspired by the different colors of the sky. And with the second edition, with this most recent release of these Sailor Yurameku inks, these colors are actually inspired by the changing of the heart. So a lot of the names have the word heart in it. In today's video, I'll be swatching these inks out, these 5 new colors for Yurameku second edition. And I've already actually prepared some of the swatches on different colors of papers, so we can compare what it looks like when it first goes on and what it looks like once it's had some time to dry out. Okay, so these are the 5 new colors of the Sailor Yurameku second edition. We have Zaregokoro, Kokoroguma, Dategokoro, Hanagokoro, and Sukigokoro. And what's cool about the Yurameku bottles is that they do have, as part of their design, kind of like the color range that these colors are going to look like when they dry on paper. Of course, there is a range, and it is different depending on what paper you're using and at what point you are in the drying process. So, well, the first one we're going to start with is this Zaregokoro, and I have some swatches prepared already. These are swatches for Zaregokoro on MD paper, and I've written the paper that I've used already here. This is MD, this is Life L brand, and this is Tomoe River 52 GSM. And so this one is pretty consistent, I will say, across all 3 papers, but where the difference really comes in is probably when you're first writing it versus what it looks like when it's dry. So I'm gonna write with it right now just to show you what it looks like when it's freshly inked, and then we'll see. What is a little bit different is the sheening effect. So Tomoe River is really exaggerates that sheening, so there is some sheen. It is overall a blue-black ink across all these 3 different papers, and you can see that from sort of the color swatch that Sailor themselves have provided over here. And it is noticeably darker. I'm gonna be swatching the Zaregokoro with our Sailor Hokoro. Oh my god, all these Japanese names. With our Sailor Hokoro Fude nib. This has been a recent favorite of mine for swatching inks. I've just been enjoying how easy it is to use and how you can get different thicknesses depending on the angle that you're holding your pen. And the angle that I'll be using for this swatch is actually really low down to the paper to make these thick strokes right here. And I'll just be doing it, I'll be doing it across all 3 papers to see what it looks like when it first goes on. So this is Zaregokoro on the MD. Okay. So it goes on like much bluer actually, and then it dries to be like a real blue-black that sheens. So look at this, it's like totally blue. It's like a standard blue-black when it goes on. So look at this, it is a total standard blue-black as it goes on, and then as it dries, it gets to be darker, it gets to be this sort of black. So that one is Zaregokoro. pretty. That's like a really pretty blue-black with some red sheen going on that you can see on the MD paper, and you can see, actually you can see it on all of these papers, which is really cool. Okay, so this is Kokoroguma, and here we have MD paper, and we have Life paper, and we have Tomoe River paper. Okay, so that's looking blue-black, just like Zaregokoro. Blue-black, but more, you can definitely see the blue more when you're first writing with it. And then I think as it dries, it becomes more black, almost sheening a little bit brown. Okay. That is what Kokoroguma looks like when it's freshly applied versus when it's dried. And I think probably the color changing effects of Kokoroguma and Zaregokoro are a little bit less pronounced than some of the other ones because they are just so dark. But they both do have a really nice sheen to them. And I will do another side by side because I think a lot of you will probably be trying to decide between these two. Yeah. Next up we have, I think one of the most popular from this collection, Dategokoro, which as you can see from the bottle here is more of a purple. It's more in the purple family. Okay, so here are our pre-made writing samples with MD paper, Life, and Tomoe River paper here. And you can see that the ink, once it's dried, these samples, they do look different depending on the paper. It's not super pronounced, but MD and Life are definitely leaning more purple, and then Dategokoro is leaning more blue. And there is some significant sheen on this ink as well, so it's a purple ink depending on what paper you're using. Here's the MD. Okay, so it's going on super blue, like a classic, and it dries to be this purple. How interesting. Okay, so that's Dategokoro, which as you can see, it's already drying and it's becoming more purple if you compare even this super blue one on the Tomoe River, which is still wet, versus the Life brand paper, which is drying now. This is looking a lot more purple, and this is looking a lot more blue. And then there is some variation across the three different papers too. MD and Life being more purple, and Tomoe River being more blue. All right, next up we have Hanagokoro. And this one, I do know what the characters mean, so I'll share. It means flower heart. And this one, as you can see from the swatch over there, it's like a light purple gray almost. Here are our pre-made swatches on MD paper, Life brand paper, and on Tomoe River. And here we really see some more dramatic differences with the color changing depending on the paper. So I'm going to do a fresh swatch now to see how the color looks different. Okay, so they go on blue. Oh, that is so cool. So it's going on blue, and as it dries, it's going to become this like red-gray. I don't know, purple? Brown? I guess it's like a brown. Almost like a brown. Okay, so it's going on blue for all of these different papers. I'm guessing Tomoe River is just going to stay blue because that's the sample that had been prepared already. You can see this one's dried already. This one is beginning to dry and developing more of these red sheening effects. That was Hanagokoro. And I saved for last my favorite when I was doing these swatches. I was blown away with all of the different colors that you get. So this one is Sukigokoro, and here are the swatches. I'm excited to show you all. This is the swatch on MD paper. This is the swatch on Life paper. And this is the swatch on Tomoe River paper. Like what? These are massively different. So Okay, so here it is on MD paper. Okay, it's like a green blue when it's first, that makes sense. I think a lot of these lean towards blue, but like whatever color it is mixed with blue is how it dries more. And then that's the Tomoe River. There is the Sukigokoro. Okay, so what we have here is actually all of the different papers that we tested. We have MD on this top row over here, Life paper in the middle row here, and on the bottom row we have our Tomoe River swatches. And on the columns we have all of the same ink. So this one being Hanagokoro here, Sukigokoro here, Kokoroguma here, Zaregokoro here, Dategokoro here, and I think that my conclusions generally are that Hanagokoro and Sukigokoro have the most dramatic color changing effects depending on paper and depending on time. And Kokoroguma and Zaregokoro look very similar. They're both blue-black. They go on blue and they dry blacker with some sheen, and it's kind of the same no matter what paper you're using. You can see here if you just look up these two rows, they all look generally the same. And then Dategokoro is its own thing. It's purple, it goes on blue, and it dries more of like a royal purple. So that is really cool, and it's pretty consistent across the three papers as well. So if you are a fan of these color changing inks and you really want to see some of the color changing, I would say that MD paper is a great paper to swatch these inks out on, as is Life paper. And I'm excited to try these inks out with more papers. Let us know in the comments which colors you like best from this collection and which papers you liked these inks best on too. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!